Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing absolutely well. Welcome to season two of A Vision God Gave entitled Conversations with the Covenant Brothers, Real Talk with Real Brothers. I'm absolutely honored to be hosting this great discussion with four of my most covenant brothers of all times. If some of you who were with us last season know, we are very honest in our conversations. I'm very excited about the vision God gave us to be able to do this, and grateful for all of you who are joining us. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on LinkedIn. And so we want to encourage you to join in and be a part of this conversation as we go further into discussion. Allow me, if you will, to introduce each of the covenant brothers one by one and bring them on. First and foremost, we have Pastor Roosevelt Rogers III. He's the pastor of the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. Pastor Ro, what's going on, brother?
Everything good, man. Excited about season two. I'm enjoying having real dialogue, real conversation with real brothers that don't mind being themselves.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. Next up, we're going to bring in our big brother, Pastor Richard Ash II. He's the pastor of the New Evangel Temple, better known as the Net Church, Church of God in Christ in Quincy, Florida. Ash, what's going on, bro?
Hey man, how y'all doing this evening?
All is well,
Glad
man.
to be back. Looking forward to season two, and love y'all, man. Glad to be
Yes,
here.
sir, bro. Yes, sir, bro. Let's have some fun with this, man. Next up, we're going to bring in our brother, Pastor Julius Harris, pastor of the New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. Jay, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's happening, brothers? Man, listen, man, good to see y'all tonight, man. Excited to be a part of the conversation and looking forward, man, to have some real and authentic dialogue.
Yes, sir, bro. And finally, we're going to bring in our brother, Pastor Bernard E. Hudson, the pastor of the Arnett Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Quincy, Florida. B, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. Just glad to be here for this second round. Excited about the conversation that we're going to have and praying that it's a blessing, not just for us to be able to have it, but also for those who are going to be listening.
Amen, brother. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we are the Covenant Brothers. This is our conversation. We don't hold back anything. And so there are some questions that we're going to talk throughout the show. But I want to share with you some new things we're doing in season two. The last 30 minutes of our show, we're going to allow for audience participation. We're going to allow you to ask us questions. And so the chat is live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook. We'll also be sharing this to each of our individual pages to give us time to do that. But you're welcome to provide comment tonight. If you have a question you want to ask, please put that in the chat. We'll bring it up in the last 30 minutes, and we will, one of us, if not many of us, will answer those questions. We want to go into our conversation tonight. So we're starting out the new season already very aggressive, right? And so tonight's the topic is defeated. Who helps the pastor after the pastor has helped the people? Again, who helps the pastor after the pastor has helped the people? So we want to begin the season very aggressive, right? And so I'm excited about this. I'm excited about where we're going to go in this conversation. As I aforementioned, we have some questions that I'm going to walk through with each of the guys, give a chance to give a response back to it, and then we're going to really just talk through it. And so before we get there, brothers, just share with us, man, a little bit about which the vision is for your house this in 2024. Ro, let's go with you first, man. What's OJ doing in 2024? What is God saying to you about your church?
Two things this year, man, that God has spoken to my spirit, man, that I'm going to be very intentional about moving the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church. And the first one is stretch. God is calling us to stretch beyond our comfort, stretch beyond what we're used to doing. And so we're encouraging all of our members to go beyond that we can be an even stronger church. But not only is he stretching us, with our service, our giving, our time and things of that sort, man, but he also wanted us to be disciplined, that we can do the things that he's calling us to do. And I think, man, one of the biggest issues in the church, within our lives, man, is not that we don't want to do things or we don't have goals, but it's discipline to fulfill them. And so this year, man, we are really focusing on remaining disciplined disciples, doing what it's called us to do.
Appreciate you for that, bro. Jay, let's go to you, man. What's God saying to you about New Jay in 2024?
Oh man, really, bro. I mean, what a great question. I think for us, God has led me, man, to lead our folks into just prioritizing their spirituality. This month, our theme has been prayer. And man, I've been, even myself, because God spoke this to me and said that you cannot lead people where you don't go yourself.
Wow, that's good.
And so, man, I've been getting up every single morning at 5:30, man, just spending quality time with the Lord. And so our theme is prayer, man. So I think, man, we went through COVID and a lot of people, kind of drifted a bit. And so just trying to avoid apostasy, people, man, just not prioritizing their spirituality, man, because times are such where, man, you're going to need an extra dose of spiritual strength. And so I think that it's so important, man, that we, hey, it's tough with Jesus. And so, man, I think that, we want to really make sure, man, that we're trying to lead folks, man, to have a just authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. So that's kind of what we do.
I love hearing that. B, let's go to you, man. What is God saying to you about Arnett Chapel in 2024?
So we're a little bit different, and so our conference years start in October. So we went into, well, I take that back. It starts in September. So we go from conference year to conference year. So I kind of started in 2023, but it's carrying over into 2024, and it's about our season of restoration, and that's what our big focus is at the church now, is just being restored. And so when you go through this period of restoration, when you go through this period of bringing back, you find out that sometimes you have to tear some stuff off, and it's kind of almost like a renovation. And so when you're renovating something, you got to get rid of some old things and bring in some new things. So our focus for this year we titled it Our Season of Restoration, and we've been leading the church through these series, and we started out with a series on expectation. And so if we don't expect anything from God, how do we expect to get anything if we go in with no expectations? And now we're getting into a series on favor before we get ready to prepare ourselves to go into this season of Lent and sacrifice.
Amen, brother. And lastly, with you, Ash, man, what are you hearing, guys, about the Net Church, man? What you guys focusing on?
We're getting back to work. The harvest is truly plenteous, but the laborers are few. Also from John, I think the 4th chapter, also where he said, "I must do the will of him that has sent me while it's day, because night comes when no man can work." So it's just getting back to putting our hands back on the plow, if you would, getting back to getting in there and doing the things that we know we ought to be doing. As a body of believers. So at the Net, that's what we're doing, is getting back to work.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. For us at Bible-Based Church, man, this is the year of a healthy church for us, man. And so really allowing God to really deal with us. I've been sharing with our ministry that in order to be a healthy church, the first step is exposure, right? God has to expose us. You have to really expose the things that we're doing, right and wrong, expose the sicknesses. After exposure is diagnosis, right? He has to diagnose whatever he's exposed. And then from there, you deal with treatment. And it's not going to be easy, man, but I'm excited about this year because I feel like we're at a strategic inflection point where God wants to take us somewhere next, and can't go to our next until we deal with the now, man. So I'm excited about all of this. Our church seems to be excited thus far. And so we're pressing forward. With that being said, let's get started, man. I'm gonna pose the first question, man, and we gonna jump in. And Jay, I'm gonna ask you to begin with this first question. And the first question is, how do you handle the pressures of pastoring? So I was looking at some statistics, right? In pastoral stress statistics, it says a major factor is overwhelming ministry stress, right? 75% of pastors report being extremely stressed or highly stressed. So the question number one is, how do you handle pressures of pastoring? Jay, we'll let you go with that one first, man.
Okay, cool. Let me start here, bro. I think the church is the only place that kills its wounded.
Wow.
Man, pastors serve, we sacrifice, we even give of our own substance to help sustain the ministry. But when we go through, we are left to die in the wilderness. And that's just a reality. I think that we have to do a better job in taking care of ourselves. I think we have to redefine our role as pastors.
Wow, that's good.
And our role, we got to redefine our role in the lives of the people that we serve. And I had to understand this also, bro, that we can't help everybody. A lot of these things actually add pressure to us. Philip Horner said this, and man, it changed my life. This dude said, other people's dysfunction doesn't have to be your dilemma. He says, help who you can, pray for those you can't. Jesus saves, not you. And man, that was liberating for me to understand that I didn't have to save everybody, every situation. And man, when I got a pastor's heart. You guys have a pastor's heart. I know y'all my brothers, man. We all have a pastor's heart. And so, man, when you have a pastor's heart, you want to help everybody. That's the hope, but that's not reality. And here's something else I think is important for us to tuck away. And I know that we're the leader, but everything that goes wrong in our churches, in our ministries, man, is not necessarily our fault. And I'm not trying to dodge responsibility, but man, some things that happen in your church is not your fault. Listen, watch this. I got a text to prove it. Moses was leading a people who thought that it was better to be slaves in Egypt than it did to be free.
Yes, sir.
And so sometimes, man, it's the mentality of the people that we're serving, man. I also think that just being your authentic self. I think we talked about this in the last show. I think that's so important, man, that we be our authentic selves. And because I think when you're your authentic self, it relieves you of pressure. And I learned it from you guys, particularly you, Ash. I want to credit that to you, bro. There's one thing that I admire about you, man, is that you are your authentic self. And I want to make sure that I said that. Here's another quote. If you never put on a mask, you would never have to worry about it coming off.
I like that. Yes, sir.
And so, man, a lot of pastors are under pressure because who we are on Sunday, we're somebody else during the week.
Yes, sir.
But if you're the same person, man, that will relieve you of pressure. And that's something that I try to do, man. Just be who I am. And last, man, I think handling pressure is me maintaining my devotional life, man. It helps. Just feeding my spirit, man. Man, your devotional life will save your life. Maintaining a prayer life. And Ro, I heard you say this, I think, in the last session, man. Just studying to live as opposed to just studying to preach. And so, man, just maintaining our relationship with God, because I don't shame on me if I'm a good preacher but a bad Christian.
Yes, sir. My God, that's good. That's good. B, once you jump on that, man, how do you handle the pressure of pastoring?
Man, I think I got a lot that I can kind of connect to what Julius just said, and I want to point one thing out that I learned when I was in seminary, or got to learn while I was in seminary, and I had a professor on spiritual formation, and here's one thing he said, is that most pastors have the illusion of indispensability, because we think that we can do it, and really it doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from a place, like Julia said, because we have the pastor's heart. So everything that's broken, we want to fix, and we feel it's our duty to fix, which then adds to those pressures that we're dealing with. I mean, and then you become weighed down, you become stressed, and if not careful, you can kind of teeter on the edge of depression because you're not seeing those things happen. And we have to understand that it's God's church. And so we're only being used as instruments in God's church to be able to do it. And so I think, number one, it has to be prayer. We have to have a lot of prayer. And number two, we have to realize that there are going to be some things that we can't do anything about.
Yes, sir.
There are going to be some people who are going to leave. There are going to be some people who are not going to like you. There are going to be some people who are not going to like the decisions. And that was hard for me coming into ministry, because you want, just by the heart we have, you want people to be happy.
Yes,
but
sir.
sometimes there are people who are just not going to be happy. And what we have to realize is we have to do the very best that we can based on the charge that God has given us. And sometimes we create things that are not what God asked us to do. And as a result, we do teeter on the edge of burnout and being stressed out. So, and I think to back up a second, it's a huge pressure. If I didn't say that, or if nobody else has said, it is a huge pressure in pastor.
Yes, sir.
Not in their right mind that would covet this if you want it. It's really gonna I mean, it's such a weighty job. I want you to think about it. You're gonna have people who don't like you. You're gonna have people who are gonna talk about you. You're gonna have people who think you make the wrong decision. And then that's on the human side. And on the divine side, we have God who's holding us accountable for the souls that come to us, that come under us. And I don't know anybody who wants that kind of weight.
Talk, sir.
You can never get to the point where you get what is deserved for the role that you carry. So you have to be comfortable with knowing that your reward comes in the end.
God. Man, that's good. Man, that's good. Ask Ro, man, come on, jump in on that same question. How do you handle the pressures of pastoring?
For me, I have to be reminded that, like B just said, this is God's church. It's not mine. These are God's people. Not by no means am I deflecting or minimizing the importance of the call that's on our life, because I believe that that when you're called to this, then God has built you for this. So I think about it like this, where even on my own life, you know, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a deputy, and I'm a pastor. Everything that I'm called to do, I got to stand on it. You see what I'm saying? Yes, you got to stand 10 toes down on this, man. You got to stand on business, like these young folks saying now. You got to stand on business when it comes to this. And what I found out in pastoring, you can't halfway do this. You can't halfway do this if you want to be a pastor now.
That's
now
right.
we know there's plenty of jokers that could preach, but they not pastors.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? We know plenty of jokers that you know, I love all y'all, because I preach all us put together. Preach now. You know what I'm saying? Or could put on I'll take that back. They can put on shows. But when it comes down to when it comes down, you know me, I'm gonna be me.
Be you, brother.
One thing I love about COVID, it cut out a lot of these singers, cut out a lot of this other stuff we were doing that you found out. I don't need all that. All that was fluff. So and that's another thing. What, you know, coming out of the pandemic did too. It showed who the true pastors were.
Talk to us.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of us, you know, like you said, we was in our own homes. I had members from all kind of churches that were members of my church for my living room church going live, and they were getting fed, and found out they weren't getting fed anything where they are. So the pressure is understanding that if God called you to this position, He didn't say it wasn't gonna be it ain't gonna be easy. We all know that. But one thing we got to be assured of, that if He called me to this, then He's gonna. The same way we tell our members, we have to put our cares and everything and our things on Him. We as pastors got to remember that no, I don't care how big we are, how important we are, we still cannot. It's no way possible that we can carry the weight of His people on ourselves. We can't do it.
I love that. Ro, what you got, man?
Oh, okay. So just to add, man, to what everybody has already said, I would first of all say, you know, I try to handle pressure by finding my why. Because once I understand what my niche is in this thing called ministry, I think that's when a lot of pressure came off of me, man. I realized that beyond preaching, man, my niche is anything that deals with health. And so I'm comfortable with that. I may not do anything nobody else ministry does, but what I do, I try to do it well. So make sure I find my why. Secondly, man, over these last 14 years, man, I had to get to a place where I trust my team and release them to flow because they understand my heart.
There you go.
And then also, man, being comfortable, watch this, with saying no. Because, man, they want us to be in all places at all times. But when we need them, man, half the time, some of them can't even be found. So, man, I got real comfortable with saying no. and not overextending myself. But to what I would also say is, in order for us to handle pressure, we got to learn how to minimize unnecessary pressure. Some of those things, man, that are unnecessary is pressure to satisfy the people. I think, man, as long as we're doing what God has called us to do, God will be happy and satisfied with us, because in the end, we just want to hear him say, servant, well done. And then pressure, man, to make sure that we keep our families intact. Jay says it all the time, man. He doesn't want to be a perfect pastor, but a horrible father and husband.
Yes, sir.
So, there's a pressure there, man. And I think sometimes we don't want to talk about that, man, finding that balance, man, sometimes of having to sacrifice family time, but then also finding that same sacrifice from church, because we're good at sacrificing our family time, but are we as good with sacrificing church time? Yeah. And then finally, man, I think once I realized that I needed to relieve the pressure of being successful in the eye of man, I think ministry took off from there, because what we define as success is not what God defines as success, and understanding what God says is what's most important, man. So that's what I would say.
Wow,
man, I love it. And you segued into our second question. Before I get there, I want to recap something that was said, that Az said. I think is so important, right? It's, he said jokers out there that's putting on shows. And truth of the matter is they are, right? Like this office of a pastor is a weighty office,
right?
And it's one thing when you are the associate minister and you are observing from the seat of the associate on what the pastor is doing, and you're in your mind saying, if I were the pastor, I would do it differently, right? It's another thing when you get ascended to the role of the pastor. And I always say this to people, especially in leadership classes, is everyone loves number two, so you become number one. Right, everybody loves you when you're number two. They'll come to you. I can't wait you start your own church. I'm gonna be all that type of stuff till you become number one. And you must understand that what you think is easy is the hand of God upon him or her who's doing their work right. But this is laborious. It's laborious. Jay made a really good point, man, about the protection.
Hey, what was that word again? What you said?
Laborious, brother. I mean, labor.
Oh, okay. Let me write that down. I feel like Ocho Cinco. Let me write that one down. Laborious. Okay. Oh yeah. Hey, hold on. I gotta use that word. I make sure I see that in a sentence.
Yes, sir.
This would work. It's laborious.
Family, man. They taught us big words.
Oh yeah. I'll bet that.
But what's critical, man, is I shared this with our ministers in a ministers class a while back, that at one point in my pastoring, I lost all the joy of pastoring because I sacrificed my devotional time for sermon preparation, right? So I was reading the Bible solely to get sermons, and was preaching out of obligation, not out of call or excitement or love for it, man. And it's because you're trying to always meet. Rob Douglas West says, Sundays are like light poles, one after the next, after the next, after the next. And so if you're not careful, right, you will allow the pressure of people, especially when you look at church in comparison to a concert, right? There's certain things we say in church we got to be careful about. We say things like, audience, come on, stand to your feet. But this ain't no audience. It's a congregation, right? When you say audience, you're putting on a show. And so now you got the pulpit and the music ministry trying to preach and minister to raise the people up, versus remembering an audience of one. So I think that's critically important, man, in that regard. Let me remind those who are watching, man, thank you all who are with us tonight. I want to remind you, please, if you're on our social media page, please share it. Encourage others to log on, but also the chat is open. So please, brothers and sisters, please jump in, participate in the conversation. Again, we're the Covenant Brothers, man. Real talk with real brothers. We're just having a great conversation. And so the next question I want to put out there that Ro, you touched on, so it's a great segue in, which is how do you keep the pressure off of your family, right? Because you may be really good at keeping it off of you as the pastor, but let's be honest. Sometimes the people put pressure on your family, especially on your children, right? They expect your kids to be perfect while their children are nowhere near it. A stat says that 80% of pastors believe their pastoral ministry has negatively affected their families. 33% said it's an outright hazard, right? And so you think about that. You think about you are preaching and mad at the people you're preaching, right? Because you love them. At the same point, you also want to that they are wearing you down in everything. And so, Ro, you started there. Let's let you pick up there, man. How do you keep the pressure off your family?
Okay. Man, the first thing I do, man, is I allow my family to understand that the Lord called me the pastor. And so that is not their responsibility. I don't allow others to put that on them. So, you know, I just let my kids be normal. You know, I tell people all the time, you get in my truck, you might hear the Mississippi Mass, but man, you're gonna hear Lil Bootsy, you're gonna hear Lil Baby, you know, you're gonna hear it, because I want my kids to understand that their dad is relatable. And so, you know, later I just don't like to get in my truck, man. I'm just gonna be honest with you. You know, hey, listen, when I walk into church, man, I got to check my playlist before I plug it into the system. So, you know, just, man, fostering family time, man, really disconnecting. When we home, it's just Roosevelt, Teresa, Trenton, and Akayla. We're not operating in titles at the house. We're free to be the Rogers. And so I tell my kids, man, y'all gonna make mistakes. Don't beat yourself over it. I don't hold my kids to no higher standard than what somebody else would hold their child to, but I teach them responsibility. There's responsibility for every action that we make. And then, you know, with my wife, man, I'm learning, man. I have to listen. Because, you know, as men, you know, we in charge, we know everything, man. But I'm learning to really give my wife my ear, man, because she sees what I don't see. She hears what I don't hear. And just allowing her to be comfortable with being Ty, man. From day one, I told her she didn't have to wear no big hat. She didn't have to wear white if she didn't feel like it. She didn't have to sit in no mother's corner because that wasn't what she was comfortable with. I told her to be her, dress your style. If I don't have a problem with it when you leave the house, we good. And so, man, I'm just encouraging them, man, just to be themselves, because the Lord called me to pastor the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church. And I'm just grateful, man, that my family shares that time, you know, and gives me that space, man. So with that being said, man, just encouraging them to be who they are, and finding their niche. Finally, I'll say this: when my kids started working in ministry, I allowed them to find their place. Kayla wanted to sing. Trent wanted to usher, but he did it a couple of times. But when he got into that media room, I don't have to beg him to come to church.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say.
And brother, listen, you where you ended, I lived that, right? I wanted my children active in church. My son, you got to do something. My daughter, you got to do something. And we had a need that grew as a result of COVID, where, you know, the Lord has blessed us tremendously with growth. And so we were needed more people working in the sound booth. And one Sunday we were short. I sent my son up there. I said, man, just go up there and just offer to be of assistance. And he went up there, and so whatever they ask you to do, just do it. And he fell in love with it. He's been up there ever since. But honestly, I got to give credit to Jay for that, right? Jay was the first one to mention to me, because Jay had his boys running all the sound during COVID for him. And he mentioned about getting youth more involved. And I heard him say that, and the Lord opened up an opportunity, man, where my son got sent up there, and he's never come down from there, man. And here's the great thing about it. It's ignited a fire in him to where now he's so into computers, into IT, that's going to be his major in college. And that all started with just him working in the sound booth, being around us up there, touching on things, learning about things. So he's interested in all kind of things, from cybersecurity to AI and things of that nature, man. But as you mentioned, just find something. Like, my belief is you need to do something in church, but I'm not going to pressure you, right? I told my kids, you ain't got to wear suits. I told my son, you got to wear a suit, man. Like, you know, if you come to church with jeans on and a polo, I'm cool with that, right? I'd rather have you in the building and in the atmosphere and in the setting than anywhere else, man. And so I appreciate that, man, because that's so very, very true. I mean, let me bring B in, man. Bernard, brother, you jump in on this, man. How do you keep the pressure off your family?
Well, it's really a difficult task. I'll say that. What I try to let them know is that I'm the one that's obligated. I'm the one that's appointed to do this, but it gets difficult because when they see me struggling or trying to deal with something or trying to handle something, their first instinct is to help me. And so then they kind of obligate themselves. And I told my wife, again, I think like Rose said, you know, he told Ty she didn't need to wear big hats. Well, I don't think I've ever seen my wife wear a hat, and I want her to be who she is. I told her, I said, when people get us as a pastoral team, they actually get a whole pastor. And I think I said this one time before, because she has gifts and talents I don't have, and I have gifts and talents she doesn't have. And so we get a chance to be able to function in that way. And I think it alleviates some of the pressure from her and alleviates some of the pressure from me. And I think kind of integrating, being, and this is really where there can be a thin line, integrating into the church, trying to become one with the church, trying to be able to be a part of the fabric of the church, because then those people, you kind of take them on, and that helps to kind of alleviate the perception that it's us and them. And so once we have that kind of more of a familiar kind of relationship, it kind of takes some of it off. But I don't think we can ever get it all off, because if you're obligated and you're working and you're stressed, because they love you, they're going to assume some of that as well. So I think it's difficult to get completely away from it, but just trying to let them know that, you know, I'm the one that's obligated to this. And I guess I'll say this, sometimes with Reverend Lisa, if she ain't feeling 100, stay home today, and I'll go on and I'll carry it on.
Yeah.
But that's difficult. Just letting them know that I'm the one that's obligated. That's probably the best answer I can give.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jay, jump in, bro. I know you got something you want to say on this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Man, I am, of course, all of us, you know, men, we are protected by nature. And man, when it comes to my family, bro, I'm very protective. I mean, you know, I'm the lion in the house. And so, but I learned that the hard way, actually, because there was a time where I did put the church before my family. And so, man, I would do like crazy stuff. Like I would be preaching at church, and it's one of my kids' birthday. You know, not taking the time to, you know, get out of town with Freedom, man, and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. And I mean, man, I've been out of town at a family reunion, man, and came back in town to do a funeral and left her and the family at the family reunion. And man, I look back on that stuff now, man, and you know, and I'm like, wow, you know. But I think we try and prove to the people, man, that we're faithful, and in the midst of it all, man, we lose our families. And so, man, and I heard Ralph West. I heard you mention West earlier. I heard him say this, that my family ain't for sale.
Yes, sir.
They're not for sale, man. So you know, I'm not going to build a church at the expense of losing my family. And so I think we gotta let them know, man, that they're first. Years ago, bro, I heard Rick Warren say this. He said you should miss a church event for a family event on purpose.
Yes, sir. I like that.
And he said you should let your church know that y'all go ahead and have it. I'm not coming because I'm gonna be with them, just so
Yes,
that they'll know, man, that they're first.
Yes, sir.
But I think, you know, back to what B was saying, man, I think some of this, man, you really can't alleviate, bro. I mean, just that pastoring comes with pressure, and our families, you know, they come with pressure. My sons deal with that, man. We've had, you know, authentic conversations about it, and I mean, certain decisions that they've made in their lives has been because their dad is a pastor.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to have continual dialogue with them, and man, allow them to be their authentic selves. I like what Rose said by, you know, not making our kids dress up, man. Be yourself, you know.
Yes, sir.
And I'm blessed, man. I think we all are blessed. We have people that we serve, man, who allow our children to be themselves, you know. I mean, I don't know if any of us are in that context where people are putting a lot of pressure on our children. They know us. They know that we're all family men, and they allow our kids to be themselves, man. And man, my wife, of course, is just a tremendous blessing, man, to the ministry. But I think, you know, unlike Bernard's situation, of course, he and his wife are pastors. So my wife, she's not a preacher, so she's the first lady. You guys, same thing for you all. So I got to get my church to understand that when they hired me, they didn't hire her. So
yes, sir.
I'm on
Yes,
payroll. I'm on
Yes, sir.
payroll. She's
Yes,
not.
sir. Yes, sir.
So anything that she does, anything that my kids do is service. And a lot of times, man, you know, members can sometimes take that for granted and feel like they just supposed to do it because they're the pastor's kid or she's the pastor's wife. Anything extra that our children and our wives do, man, it's a blessing. And I think that it should be appreciated. It should be acknowledged. And so, but I think we have to make sure, man, that we teach our staff that, because because you know, and this is in pastoring, this is in, you know, family, serving, and ministry. You do not get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
Yes, sir.
You know, nobody's just going to come up and say, "Oh no, you know what, Pastor? You know, your kids or your wife is doing such a great job. We want to bless them." No, you don't. You don't get what you deserve. Not in this calling.
Yes, sir.
You get what you negotiate.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Man, I'll close with this. I had to do a paper. Dr. Andrews in seminary had to do a paper on how do you deal with being in a thankless calling. He said that pastoring is a thankless calling. It is a calling that people don't oftentimes thank us. You know, of course, I know we all get down to verses and all of that, but man, sometimes people tend to take you for granted. And what I wrote about how this is credit to you, bro. That we have to remind ourselves that our service is to the people, for the people rather, but it's under God.
Yes, sir.
That's what, man. So I think that, you know, we can't never lose sight of our service, man. It may be for them, but it's under Him.
Ash, man, bring us up, brother. How do you do? I mean, your kids are older, right? You're 3, just like Jay, man. You guys are blessed. Your kids are now in their young adult ages, man, and so. But listen, you are PK, right? You are pastor's kid now. You're pastoring. So not only did you and your siblings grow up in the church, your kids did as well, man. And how have you and your wife done that, man? Share that with us, please. Hold on, we can't hear you. Hold on now. People hear your voice. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Come on now. We gotta hear you now. They said
sorry
somebody
about
a thug or something. We gotta make sure we hear you.
I think you know, growing up as a pastor kid, don't get me wrong, there was pressures there, because I don't care how much you may try to, everybody still sees you as the pastor's son. And my father always used to you know, not just I guess I just say how he would put the pressure of me of always letting me know I was his son. So regardless of where I was or what I've done, I still represented him. So I understood that. But one thing I do thank God that my dad did was if he was hard on us, he was hard on everybody. So it wasn't no, you know what I'm saying, if it was this for us, it was gonna be this for all the other kids in the church. It wasn't no, we didn't get no pass. Don't get me wrong. He was strict, but he was strict to everybody. So it wasn't like you know, some pastors' kids got, you know, they got to skate and do whatever they want to do and nobody said anything to them. No, we got the example first in our house, and so that was tough. But I couldn't sit there and say that I was treated any different than anyone else. Some things that my father did, I tried my best not to do. And what I mean by that is, I played basketball in high school. My dad came to one game. One.
Wow.
One.
Wow.
And because I got to preach, I got to be here, church doing this, church doing that. And my father told me some years later some things I didn't even know he knew. You know, he was like, first of all, he apologized to me. He said, you know what, I thought the most important thing was I had to be at the church. I had to be at the church, even if and my dad always pastored up until now out of town. So, he was out at Bluntstown or he was traveling, he was doing something. So he missed everything. But he surprised me when he told me, he said, I knew your favorite player was Charles Barkley. I didn't even know he knew that. I honestly, I did not, because my dad was never like he in the sports now, but when I was coming up, he cared nothing, he didn't care nothing about it. We didn't sit down and watch sports together. We didn't talk it together. If it wasn't about church, it wasn't about nothing. and I mean, I'm just being honest. That's how he did it. So when I became a pastor, I made it my business that, whatever my kids and all the kids of the church, whatever extra activity they was in, I promised each one of them and delivered on, if you were in something, I was going to be there. So I've been to soccer matches. I've been to cheerleading to see the girls on the side cheerleading. I've been to basketball games, football games, wherever any of the kids of the net were in. I wanted to make sure I was going to be there. Give me the schedule. I'm going to be there. And if my kids were in something, they'll tell you that. And that's from when I had to work night shift. I've been standing up on the side in a uniform so they could see me. So I still got to go. But I wanted to make sure that whatever they were involved in, I wanted to let them know that was important too, because I felt that when I didn't feel that when I was a kid. I saw my dad one time. You know what I'm saying? What could have been if he'd have been there more than once?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of people that always say, "Hey man, you good at this, man. I enjoyed that." That, but my dad couldn't say that because he wasn't there. You see what I'm saying? And it was because for him, when he was pastoring, the most important thing was to be there at the church. Even if he got there and one person was there, he had to be there. You see what I'm saying? But that was the pressure he had. So me and Tune, so you say, how do I keep the pressure off my family? Was I made sure when I got called to the ministry and my wife understood and everything else, but I wanted her to be herself. I didn't want her to be my mom. I didn't want her to be what other, I done seen other younger first ladies had to walk around in them dresses and hats on about to tip over, and you can tell that y'all know I'm telling the truth. Y'all can tell they ain't comfortable in that. Y'all can tell they ain't comfortable. They ain't comfortable. Yeah, they ain't comfortable in that. Y'all know it. Y'all know it. Y'all know it. Hey, they wear that big old hat and try to have a hat on and two babies and come on, man, come on, and nobody helping out. You know what I'm saying? Nobody helping out. You know what I'm saying? And they'll be there to talk about it later. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, the pressure that I took off my family was we're going to integrate as a family of the church. So we all going to be family. So when I say all the kids get up, that means all of mine, everybody kids get up. So it's no differentiating between, they're the pastor's kids. No, it's all the kids. And that's what I want to make my kids understand as they grew up in church with the other kids, that all of them were my kids. I got daughters and sons everywhere, and I call all of them my daughters and my son. I treat all of them with the same. So the pressure I took off of them was, I'm gonna let you be yourself, but you got to be honest too. You know as well as I do. It's like with the president, his children are not gonna be able to do everything everybody else's kids do. They're not. I don't care. We try. Yes, they. They're gonna make mistakes. We did the same thing. But at the same time, there is a calling because you are in that family. There is. Because I gotta tell them, I'll tell you like this, and I'll let you go. I remember I had to preach in South Carolina, and we was up there and met with the church, met with the pastoral staff up there. They say, hey, we got you and your wife, hotel room to yourself. Matter of fact, we got a babysitter for the kids, so you and the wife can just, y'all can have time. And you can, do what you got to do. So me and my wife was in the bed that night, and my wife said, I kind of like hanging out with the pastor. and the point was, you can't always press. It's some benefits too. Come on, it's some benefits to this too. Y'all get the chocolate cake. Stop playing. Come on now. Hey, Jay. She might not be on the road, but they get that good cake. We in country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Come on now. Come on. You know that
piece of cornbread.
Here first, lady. We got. Yeah, so it's a benefits too, y'all. We ain't gonna sit here and tell you that. It's a benefits to it too.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Ro, you wanted to add one more thing, man? Jump back in.
Yeah, man, real quick, man. I just wanted to add this, man. When everybody was talking, man, one of the things I did to alleviate pressure off my family as well as alleviate pressure off the church family, man, in the beginning of pastoring, man, every invite I got, I was dragging the church, dragging my family everywhere I went, man. And I made a decision probably about maybe 10 years ago, man, that I no longer take any invitations on Fridays.
No. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I stick to it, man. They ask, I'm sorry I can't do it because typically, man, tradition, that's football night, basketball night. If your daughters are cheering, you know, I just wanted to make sure that I never wanted a family to have to make a decision between extracurricular with their kids and a church service. And so I tell churches all the time, man, I may accept the Friday, but I ain't bringing my church or my family.
Come on now.
So I just wanted to add that.
I love that, man. That's,
yeah.
There you go. There you go. You guys know about me, man. Like I covet, you know, I do lunch with my wife on Fridays, and then Friday nights our family night, man. Like, you know, if I do an invitation on Friday, you can best believe I checked in at home, right? I asked the wife, are you cool with this? I asked the kids. I prayed about it, of course. But I'm not going to pick preaching over my kids doing something. My son played football all through high school. He's now a senior this year. So his season's over. But our daughter's now cheerleading, right? And she had to cheer this past Friday. The boys had a basketball. Actually, it was yesterday. I'm sorry. But she's had to cheer on Friday before. This upcoming week, she's going to have to cheer on a Friday, right? For varsity basketball, man. We're going to be there.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to win the church and lose my family.
That's it.
It's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. And there are times when, you know, they grant you grace and they tell you, Daddy, don't worry about it. You can go ahead. But you best believe we're never going to allow anyone to be able to dictate how our family's involvement ought to look. And I'll tell you, man, my man Jay really has shown that, man. You know, I remember when Jay used to go on vacation, and Jay was taking his Bible and 4 books with him, right? He was doing sermon interpretations on vacation. Like, Jay, where you going, man? We going to Orlando, man. I got to take my briefcase with me. Now, man, Jay, where you at? You know, we share with each other where we going to preach on Sundays, and Jay like, man, I'd rather go ahead and preach good, man. I'm out of town this week, right? It's like, you know, but here's the thing, man. Our fathers and mothers in ministry before us. I kept under Pastor Walker. Pastor Walker tells this story where this back in the day where you would preach at your church on Sundays and they'd be gone the entire week as you was doing 5-night revivals, right? That's how you made your income. You back in your pulpit on Sundays, right? And so he shared a story, man, where literally he missed almost all of his children extracurricular activities, right? His son was playing football in high school. I think he said he missed almost every game of his 4 years in high school. He was always on the road preaching, but it was that generation, right? Well, that's how they made their income. And you don't get those moments back, man. You don't get any of those moments back, right? You just don't get those moments back. And we need to realize that, man, that you don't get it back. And when you have to continue to ask your children for forgiveness because you've chosen others over them, something's wrong with that scale. Something's wrong with that scale. And then what ended up happening is a root of bitterness may rise up within your children, man, where they feel like the church took my mother or father or my parents away from me. So now they're mad at the church. And that phased me into question number 3, man, that we're getting ready to go deeper in this. And this is where I'm remind everybody that the last 30 minutes of our show, we're going to open up for audience questions. I've already received 2 questions from Mr. Roman Reister. So I'm gonna ask those, the latter parts, really good questions he's asked. I want to make sure he knows I do see his questions that have come in. We'll make sure we acknowledge those at that point. I want to also encourage you to share this conversation. Again, we're live on YouTube. We're live on all 5 of our Facebook pages, and we're live for the first time on LinkedIn. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to chat. Those chats do come in into the chat. We're able to post those live as well. This next question, brothers, is going to be a tough question, but need to be honest. And I'll jump first and make it easier on everybody. The next question is, how many times have you thought about quitting ministry? Right? 91% have experienced some form of burnout in ministry, and 18% say they are just fried to a crisp. I've probably thought about quitting twice, and I will admit that both times it was 100% my fault. Here's what I mean. One time I thought about quitting because I felt like my ministry was ineffective. And here is why I thought that was because I was doing external comparisons, right? You looking at other people's ministries and other people are doing and what's being posted about them, looking at what you're doing, and you just feel like, man, I'm doing all this and you're reaping this result. And I heard E. Dewey Smith say this one day in a simple conversation. He said somebody asked him, "Hey Doc, how many you got over there now at House of Hope?" His response was, "Man, more than I deserve." And when he said it, man, it hit me. He was like, he said he broke it down by saying, y'all worried about counting members until you fail to realize one is more than you really deserve. It's God's grace that's affording you to be able to pastor at least one person. And it really rocked me, man, because when you're doing external comparisons, you're only looking at it through one lens. You're only seeing one thing at a time. And our ultimate goal and desire is to exalt the name of Jesus, right? He said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men into myself. That's our desire, that lives may be saved, right? But at the end of the day, we are heralds of the message of Jesus Christ being used by the Lord. And whenever we start doing comparisons, we've now made, at least I started making the ministry about me and not about the work the Lord had required of us to do. First time. Second time, man, was honestly, it was family sicknesses, right? My parents started going through health challenges and other things were going on, man. It became a little bit too much. And you start looking at it and realizing, man, like, bro, I could be doing other things, right? Many of us on here, all of us on here, man, for the most part, we're bivocational, right? So we make income in other places outside the pulpit. I'm an entrepreneur, right? As is Jay, right? I believe in multiple streams of income, which is different from, again, our four parents in ministry, right? Their only income was the church. And I thank God for my church. They take good care of me, man. But that's not the only income I'm blessed to have. I believe in multiple streams of income, right? I believe in residual income, right? Where I'm asleep, money is still being made. I'm not a money hungry preacher, right? But I also I believe in not being a burden on the ministry as well. But also when the church is not your only income, the church can't control you. And so we got to be mindful of that as well. So those are two times over a span. I just celebrated 24 years in ministry overall, 13 of those as pastoring. And so twice, right, in that span, I'll take that. But both times God reminded me that you've gotten off course because you're distracted. And so, Bernard, I'm going to come to you first, man. How many times have you thought about quitting ministry?
This week? No, I think we say that. I think we say it a lot, especially sometimes when we're joking, when things don't quite work out. But I think seriously thinking about it, I think I've had one time where it almost came to fruition, and I think Derek, I agree with you that it was because you're doing a lot of looking externally and you're looking at things, and you feel like the work that you're putting in isn't producing. Because now I don't just talk this God thing. I believe this God.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I believe that if I do my part, God will do his part. And so when I'm doing what I think God has called me to do, and I'm not seeing the fruit, yes, all that stuff begins to go through your mind. And a lot of times we're looking at numbers, and you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head with E. Dewey Smith, that if you got one, that's one more than we deserve, because none of us really deserve to have whatever numbers we get. I had a seminary professor that said one time that all we are as preachers is one beggar showing other beggars where to find food. I still have a soul to save. I still have to work on that stuff too. And it's stressful, especially when you get into this for the right reasons. A lot of times you get into it, we have people who are getting into it because of what they think they can get out of it. But when you're getting into it because it's a calling on your life and you're really trying to do this right and you're working hard and you're not producing, or you don't see the fruit of it, it can be a little bit frustrating. And so it can make you start to think, I'm really ineffective at this. And I said to a member one time, I said, I've done all this and I don't know what else to do. Here's what he said to me: maybe it's not for you to do. It hit me like a ton of bricks because I had inserted myself in the place of God. Scripture says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what I had to do was to realize, do the very best that I can with the gifts that God has given me, and then let God work out the rest of it. Now,
yes, sir.
That's hard when you're trying to separate your personality from it, because all of us got egos. I don't care how much we talk about being humble. We all got egos. And when you don't feel like something is producing, then it's a hit. It's a shot to your ego. And so, yes, I've had that time where it almost was a fruit. I thought about, I can't even remember, because being AME, if I decide to step out of ministry, what I have to do is I have to turn in all my credentials. So every appointment, every certificate of ordination, I got to give all that stuff back. And I started thinking, I was like, man, I don't even know if I can find all that stuff. And so, so if I was going to quit, I had to really go through with it. But that was how far my mind had gone into that, because of how I was feeling at that particular time. And I don't think that anybody who does this for real can say that you've never thought about quitting.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Roosevelt Rogers III.
Man, just because you said my whole name.
Response, bro? That's right, brother. You know, it's the government calling you.
I think I'm a term of people's in. But man, like Bernard and you both have said, man, when I look back, man, it's probably been one time that I really, really contemplated it. You know, and it was an internal struggle. Didn't even, you know, share with people how I was feeling in that moment. What I can say, man, is during that season, you know, Derek, I used to reach out to you all the time, man. Derek, man, just help me off the ledge, bro. You know, I just need some advice. Jay, I just need some advice, man. Y'all just, you know, I just need to hear, man. And I think what happened, man, was, you know, when we pull everything out, and then we don't have anybody, or watch this,
there it is.
We don't allow others to pour back into us. Because we're afraid, man, because again, I go back to what I say, the pressure of success, man, and Bernard, you alluded to it, man. Ego and pride, man, will stop us from asking for help. And so, you know, it's just, man, you know, giving it all you got, man. And I think, man, when I said this before, man, sheep bite too. And I think sometimes we forget that. You know what I'm saying? We always like to talk about the wolves, but man, I think a sheep bite is worse than a wolf bite. And that one time when you done had that sheep bite you one too many times, man, it'll cause you to really contemplate, man, you know, am I being effective, man? And then also, man, you know, maybe not so much quitting, Derek, man, but and fellas, I think sometimes, man, we just sometimes wonder, is our season up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for me, man, you know, mine is a little unusual. Man, I've preached the last 24 years under the same roof as an associate and a pastor. Now, of course, we get invites, but my whole ministry, man, has been relegated to 197 Carver Avenue in the lovely town of Havana, Florida, man. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. But, you know, sometimes you just wonder, what if, man? What if I took, you know, because I think sometimes people get comfortable with you. And so, you know, like Jay said, man, you know, we only get what we negotiate. And I think sometimes, man, when you start hearing other people value you externally, man, that start messing with you, because you're saying, well, oh man, they with me every day. And so, you know, I'll just say, man, that one time, man, and then my overseer gave me, he gave me some good advice, man, and I'll shut it down right here. Man, he gave me a plumb line. And I keep this plumb line in my office, because he says, whenever you hang a plumb line, man, it's always centered. And he say, man, if we keep our eyes centered on Christ, man, we'll make it through this, man. So I keep this plumb line with me, man, in my office.
That's good.
You know, I'll end it right there, man.
That's good. That's good. Ash, you jump in, man.
I've probably been pastoring longer than all of y'all on here. And when I first started, man, I was like, I can't do this, man. I'm honestly, I can't, I can't do it. And then I didn't have y'all guys too. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have this friendship and this covenant brotherhood that we have that I could, because you know you can't bleed down. You
That's
know what
right.
I'm
There you
saying?
go.
You can't bleed down. I know we letting a lot of people in on some things we are talking about and everything else now, because we're talking a lot of stuff in past tense, and unless I'm B and B say this week, you know what I'm saying? But but I know what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? You strengthen more now, but man, I can remember one time vividly, man. I was having some things going on with the church, man, and it seemed like every time I was turning around, I was fighting with somebody, and you know, just struggling with it. And I remember I vividly just told the Lord, I cannot deal with this today. I just cannot. I mean, honestly, I was just at the end of man. I'm talking about, if I get a call today, I'm allowed to throw everything wherever it is and keep it pushing. That's how I felt that day, and I thank God He heard that sincere prayer. I ain't had no problem that day. Now some more problems that came up, but my point in that is I didn't have you know, that outlet of brethren that I could just talk to and just be, you know, be rich with, you know what I'm saying, and no one worry about a title, and you know, all of us can come in here and just be, you know, who we are. And one thing I had to learn too, that I wasn't my father, you know what I'm saying, I wasn't someone else. I had to be me. And
That's right.
one
That's
thing
right.
Jay said that he appreciate, but I had to get to that point where, you know what I'm saying, I see this, you know, all of us have, don't get people that make impressions on us, or we may see something and say, you know what, I like how they do that, or but I had to remember, hold on, what can be done in a large metropolitan city can't be done in a small rural city. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things that I want to do, man, I promise that, you know, I'm in my head, all these ministries that I was the head of. I was head of the prison ministry. I remember one night, dude, I left work. I had went to the prison. I left the prison. I had another obligation at an organization I was in. I was there. Man, by the time I got home, I was like, God, I done did about 4 different things, man. I'm running myself raggedy. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted all these different ministries going. You see what I'm saying? But I was the only one doing it. You know what I'm saying? As well as I was young, where I didn't know how to delegate to someone else. I thought
Yes,
if it don't get done, Pastor, you don't do it, it don't get done. I'm way smarter than that now. You know what I'm saying? They're like,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, I'm not doing that.
Yes,
and
sir.
I learned that what Jay said. Roosevelt said, I learned how to say no. You know, people invite. You know, you get, hey man, you mind stop by here, man? My wife, what she'll tell you, man. I'd be like, man, I should have told them people no, or I should have, golly. Yeah, but now, oh, matter of fact, if it come up, if it's Saturday and I don't feel like going, or I feel like going to do something else, I text everybody and let them know, hey, we're gonna be out today. See y'all. Hey, the sheep do it. They don't get me wrong. I know I'm the shepherd. I'm called to do, but I promise you, I've gotten that point now that if I feel like the wall's closing in, I tell them, you know what? We gone this weekend. I'll see y'all when we get back. Pray for us. I pray for you. And I know I can get on my phone. I can do a live feed anywhere, and I still don't do it. No, I'm gone.
Yes, sir.
Because I know that, you know, because I don't want it to be said that he did all that, burned himself out, and he just killed himself. He just killed himself. They just tapping on my wife's shoulder. Oh, you had a good husband. Pastor just killed himself for us. No. But I have had plenty of times, especially early in ministry. Thank God lately I know what my call is. I don't worry about numbers. I don't worry about, now if I get a phone call, hey, take care of yourself, pray for you. I don't give them that, oh, that's sad. Well, you gonna be out today. No, it's fine. Hey, take care of yourself. Y'all have a good time. See y'all when I get back and go. I done got to church and it'd be nobody in there but me. I hit play and go, and Lord still bring folks in. You know what I'm saying? So I don't stress it. I don't stress it anymore. I don't.
Yes,
bro,
sir.
I promise you, the Lord has blessed me to this point where I do not stress who's there and who is not there. I don't.
Yes, sir.
I do not.
Yes, sir.
I do not stress any of it. That's from family, friends, foes. It don't make no difference. Whoever the Lord send, if they're allowed to be there, thank God for you. I'm glad you're here. We're gonna do what we have to do. But I know what I'm called to do. I gotta do that part because I can't expect God to do something and I'm not doing the part that He told me to do.
I love that, man. I love that. Jay, bring us up to the rear, man. Anytime you thought about quitting,
man, I'm just gleaning from y'all, man. This is great. Well, just being honest, bro. I've lost count.
Yes, sir. I love it.
I think something Rose said. I think when it comes to pastoral ministry, you can either, and this is what I believe, you can either leave too soon or stay too long. And I think all of us have
this guy right here, bro.
No, man, seriously, bro. I think all of us.
That's good, man.
No, I think all of us have questioned, man, is my season up? Man, I wanted to quit when I first started pastoring because the people fought everything.
Everything.
Man, I mean, they fought the book I was teaching out of. They fought, I mean, the vision that I tried to introduce. I never forget, man, my cousin, man, Terrell Jackson, he told me, he said, you know, cuz, you know, it's going to take you at least 7 to 10 years to get that church where you want it to be. I said, 7 to 10 years? I said, man, I got a vision, man. I'm trying to grow. I don't have 7 to 10 years. We trying to grow now. He said, no, and listen, and I'm at year 18 this year, and we still trying to get there. You understand?
Yes, sir.
But man, they fought everything. But now as I look back over it now, So my predecessor, Pastor Maxwell, man, pastored there for 53 years. And so now, with the wisdom I have now, when I look back over it, it wasn't that they was rejecting me. They was just grieving him.
Yes, sir.
For some people, man, he was the only pastor that they've had, I mean, for generations. He was the mama's pastor and the children's pastor. So, I mean, that's the only guy that they knew, man. And so they were grieving, man. But I want to say this, bro, that I think I think this is phenomenal that we're having this conversation because so many preachers don't talk about this. They don't want to admit it, but we all think about quitting. But I want to give us some encouragement. Jesus thought about quitting.
Come on, talk to us.
So Bernard, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane on his way to the cross. I just preached this the other Sunday, and he's sweating drops of blood.
Come on now.
And he said, Lord,
yes, sir,
let this bitter cup pass me.
Talk, Doc.
So in other words, if I don't have to go through this, don't let me have to go through it.
Come on now.
Jesus thought about quitting, but he had a nevertheless moment.
Nevertheless.
Not my will, but let your will be done, man. And so, man, pastoring, man, comes with bitter cups.
Pull the chain, Jay. Pull on it.
Listen. Hey, you see how he make his comments and he pause for a few seconds for you to digest.
Man, y'all let me talk. I didn't bother y'all when y'all was talking. I sat here. My computer was muted. I didn't say nothing. So I started talking to everybody.
Do your thing, bro.
Now I just sat back. I didn't say nothing, but now I'm talking to everybody. They won't even let me finish, bro. But listen, man. No, listen, like, man, I've lived this.
Yeah.
The bitter cup of, man, having to show up for people that abandon you. The bitter cup of having to love people who don't even like you.
Mm.
There are people in all of our churches that show up every week.
Talk, Jay.
And some show up every now and again. And some of them show up and hope you don't show up.
Talk, Jay.
And they don't like us, man. For no reason. I'm pouring my life out to you every week. And man, and some people, man, I mean, and I'm understanding. I mean, and hear me also, bro. I'm not complaining because this group that don't like you, because I don't like whining pastors either. I mean, but this group that don't like us is always smaller than the folks that are supporting us.
Talk. Come on, sir.
So don't let the enemy fool, to some pastors that may be listening, man. Don't let the enemy fool you into thinking that the majority of the people you serve don't like you. That's probably about 3 or 4 people that don't like you. I mean, so I mean, I've learned, man, not to waste pulpit time on them. You know, I'm not talking about no haters. I ain't talking about who don't like me. I don't even care. I'm focused on the folk who do like me.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But you know, just staying true to the question, man. We've all thought about quitting, man. I've considered, you know, that my time was up, and I don't want to stay past my time. So I've sought, you know, pastoral wisdom, and then there've been just moments, man, that, you know, my shoulders got heavy, and I know for some reason, bro, sometimes people don't think that the encourager needs encouraging.
Ooh, there it is.
You know?
There it is.
And so, man, you know, and we're pouring, man, and so people never stop, man. It may be 1 or 2 people, man. You know, of course, you know, you got your family, but it may be 1 or 2 members, man. Every now and again, man, they'll check in with you, man, and just like you said, Bernard, in the other show, how you doing? We got a few people, man, that'll check in and that'll ask that, man. But I guess they feel like because we show up with the cape on every Sunday, that we don't ever think about quitting. And so I'll close with this. So this guy, he's getting ready to go to church, and he said, "Baby, I don't feel like going today." He talked to his wife, "I don't feel like going today." She said, "Well, you know, what you mean you don't feel like going today? You got to go." He was like, I just don't feel like going today. He said, "Well, baby," he said, "Baby, give me 1 reason why I should go to church." She said, "Well, we can start by you being the pastor."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You gotta show up.
And sometimes, as just said it, man, sometimes, man, we have days. And so, man, I think, man, so vacation, time away, man, is essential, because, you know, you need that, man, so that you can go and get back poured into, because we can't pour from them.
Derek.
Ash, chime back in, brother. Do you have something you want to share?
Yeah, man. I guess Harris had said something that even Jesus had that his moment in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I believe that moment definitely was highlighted in the text for us to let us know that you're gonna have some times when you want to quit too. But as he was sitting there talking about it, I can remember Jesus healing 10. The only one came back to say thank you.
Only one came back.
So if they are we greater than the master? And don't get me wrong, people that's, you know, listening in with us right now, this is 5 of us, you know, venting or talking of our experiences. But we also know that this, as Jay, you said it before, this is a thankless position. You know what I'm saying? Jesus just restored 10 people, their livelihood, everything, that they can go back now. And only one thought it good enough to say, you know what, let me go back. So you're not going, I'll tell any young men or women that are on here tonight, if you think about ministry, if you think this is going to be a pat you on the back position and everybody that's going to be, you already going to be disappointed. You already finna get disappointed. If you think this is about you getting a big car and a big house through ministry and doing it the way it's supposed to be done, if you think that's what it's gonna be, you already gone. You already in it for the matter of fact, you're already in it for the wrong reason anyway. So you're gonna find out them same folks that you, like you say, you done helped out, prayed through, gave money to, fed, did all that stuff too, gonna be the same one. But we ain't no better than Jesus. We ain't no better than him. The same ones who ate the fish, I promise you, was there saying crucified. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing different going on. It ain't nothing different. So you got to learn how to deal with that part, push through it, and know that, you know what, I've been called to do this. And sometimes you got to cry, sometimes you got to be upset, but you got to have, like Jay said, and I quote, that nevertheless. You got to have that nevertheless moment. Hey, get back to it. Hey, man, wipe yourself off. Hey, you done cried enough. You gotta have friends. You done cried long enough. Blow your nose. Come on. You got to get back in there. You can't give up now. I can't. What would I feel? What would we feel like? And I'm D. I don't mean to take over like this. What would we feel like? Honestly, we don't have times where we honestly say that, you know what, I would have quit, but what would I felt like if I had done it?
My God.
What would I have felt like if I'd have quit and gave it up?
My God.
The honest part of this is, yeah, all of us have felt it. But I'm too glad that, he sent somebody to minister to me.
Come on, sir.
He said somebody that was there that said, Pastor, I appreciate you. He said somebody that said, I appreciate you saying that word today. When you thought the message that you gave wasn't hitting on nothing, somebody text you and say, Pastor, I needed that. Somebody along the way that may have not even known you say, you know what, I caught a live feed and you said something that really encouraged me. That's only God encouraging us. You just do what I tell you to do. Let's stay in there and do what I tell you to do, and let me take care of you.
Listen, y'all, for those who are watching us, and thank God again, the people who are watching, I'm getting comments here through our live streams. Let me be very honest with you guys. This is what the 5 of us do, right? Like you guys are getting a chance to be a part of our normal conversations, right? We're not reading off no script, right? We're not trying to put on performance. This is what the 5 of us actually do through text, through getting together for breakfast, whatever it may be. This is our normal conversations of encouragement, of love of each other. We believe in confidentiality, right? So we don't let everybody in our circle, but we are honest covenant brothers, and so the vision God gave to start this, to make it public, is you're really getting a glance into who the 5 of us are together with each other. And so we're not on here trying to sugarcoat anything, right? What's being shared is impactful and is real. I'm grateful as when you think about, but we didn't.
Yes, sir.
Right? We thought about it, but we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Thought about it, but we didn't, right? It's that's impactful, because there are some who thought about it and they did it, and there are some who thought about it and they died by suicide, right? Because of that. There was statistics, man, that came out, especially during COVID, man, the amount of pastors who were dying by suicide under the weight. And so I think about that, thought about it but didn't do it, but also I'm grateful because part of not doing it, number one, was the love and the grace and the intervention of God, but number two is God surrounding us with each other and giving us the brotherhood that we share, where sometimes it wasn't us honestly saying, brothers, I need to talk. It was just the Lord pricked the spirit of one of you and you sent a text. And you know what I'm saying? Like it was just that, because if we had done it, right? Like you think about Jay mentioned the Garden of Gethsemane. What if Jesus had said, I ain't doing this? I ain't doing this, right? What did Moses tell the Lord? Lord, these your people, right? I'm sick of these people. These your people. And Moses allowed the people to get him to the point where he smited the rock, and now he missed out on going in, right? Because it builds up in that regard. But imagine if Jesus had said, I'm not doing this, right? And so, it's a something that Jay said I want to hit on, and it's going to lead into our next question and probably be our final question. And then we're going to go into a lot of audience asking questions until we wrap up. But Jay, you said something. Okay, I got you too, B. I'll let you jump in, B. Jay, you said something that was so impactful, and I want to reiterate it about to those who are listening, because there are some preachers and pastors on here, because I'm seeing their comments. Is those who don't like you are the minority, right? Now the minority may have the loudest voice, but they're in the minority. And if you're not careful, years ago, Bishop Noel Jones talked about this, about the mistake that we make as immature preachers, is that we use the preaching moment to vent our frustrations to a minority of people, right? And so now the ones who love you and those who came to get the word of God, they're now having to endure a pastoral venting session about maybe one or two people and something they said. No. And so when you mention that, Jay, that's so very, very important for all the preachers and the pastors. Is you may have those one or two or three, you may have that family, right, that's just going to always buck against you. Dr. Matt King Carr talked about that story. He shared that story at an E. Dewey Smith conference years ago, right? You may have that, But at that same board meeting, when the lady tried to vote to have his salary frozen, somebody else stood up in his defense, right? This predates us, right? And it's gonna post-date us as well. But God's gonna always protect who he puts there. I think that's very, very important. B, go ahead and chime in, man. Then we'll go to the next question.
So what I wanted to say is, because there are pastors that are listening, but there are also members that are listening as well.
Members, yes, sir.
And so I want to make sure, so as we talk, I want them to understand that sometimes it's helpful to let your pastor know that they are doing a good job. I know this.
Yes, sir,
I know this is, and we've talked about it being a thankless position, a thankless job. But sometimes that helps more than anything else you could do.
Yes, sir.
Like, pastor, you may be coming up against some obstacles. You may have some opposition, but we're headed in the right direction. It just helps sometimes to give that reassurance. So for those of you who are in ministries, who are supporting, or who are members of ministries, if you think your pastor is doing a good job, it don't hurt every now and then to tell your pastor, I think you're doing a good job. You got us headed in the right direction. Not to blow their head up.
Come on now.
But sometimes the pastor needs some reassurance. The pastor needs some confirmation and some affirmation to know, because you got to think about it. Those who are doing it for real are travailing. They're going before God. They're trying to make sure they're making the right decisions. And it might not always be the popular decision, but if you know that is what's best for that ministry, it doesn't hurt every now and then to say, you know what, we're going in the right direction. We appreciate the push that you're doing. We don't like it, but we appreciate it. And so it would help for those members who feel that way. And then that way, that minority that doesn't like you, that minority that is never going to find anything good in what you're doing, will be drowned out by those who are saying, yeah, I think we're headed in the right direction.
Let me, as we prepare to go to this next and final question, I want to remind our viewing audience that we want to hear from you. So after this next question and we give our responses, we're going to allow for you to submit a question or two or three that we're going to lift up and give response to in our closing. But brothers, I want to lift this last question to you, and I'm excited about this question, right? Because it's you looking back and thinking back, and then providing counsel, right, to self. And so that next question is, what would you say to the young ministry self if you were starting all over again? All right, if you were starting all over again at the beginning of ministry, what would you say to yourself? Based on what you learned now, what would you say to yourself back then? And so, Jay, I want to start with you, man. What would you say to your young ministry self if you were starting all over again?
Can y'all hear me, brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay, quick. I'll be brief, man. I mean, a lot.
Be brief, man. Speak your piece.
Here's the first thing. Y'all may find this funny, but don't buy more suits than books.
Ooh. I love me some Julius Harris. That's good. That's good. That's good. Oh my God, that's good.
Listen, man.
My God, that's good.
Shout out to one of my members on Shanita. Just said Pastor Julius Harris, you're doing an awesome job. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Say it again, man.
Yeah, man. Don't. Man, younger preachers, man, can
oh my God,
can spend more time on fashion than they do the faith.
Oh my God. That was good.
Listen, A. Lewis Patterson, rest in peace. A. Lewis Patterson, preaching hero. He preached about that text where the woman built a room on her home, on a house for the man of God, and he dealt with that text, man, and he talked about what she was not interested in. She said that he had about 15 different things he talked about that she was not interested in. The text says, and she said this, and we perceive, she and her husband, that this man is a holy man of God. That's what she was impressed by. He talked about how she was not impressed by how many buttons was on his jacket. She was not impressed by his alliteration. She was not impressed by you know, how he exegeted the text. She was impressed by the mere fact that this man was a holy man of God.
Yes, sir.
And so, man, I would tell my younger self that, man, focus more on how you live than what you say. Another thing that I would tell my younger self is, I think Roosevelt said this earlier, is to use your no. Man, use your no, man. Use your no. You don't have to say yes to every invitation. You don't have to be present on every scene. You don't have to attend every function. What else I have here, man? Preaching. I think we talked about this in a previous show, man. Preaching is not who we are, man. It's what we do. I think earlier in my ministry, man, my identity was tied to preaching. So, you know, I didn't, you know, I spent a lot of years, man, not necessarily having a life. It just was about church. I thought about something Ash said, you know, about his dad, man. It's like, you know, every conversation, and you know, is about church. And man, now I don't want to talk about church. You know, when I get around my family, you know, I don't want to talk about the church. I want to talk about something else. You know,
Yes,
I love the Lord. I love the church. I'm passionate about it. But man, but you know, I think that, man, it can consume you if you let it, bro. Ministry can kill you if you let it.
Yes, sir.
If you let it. So I can say a lot more, but I'll stop there. But just those few things, man.
Brother, I love you, man. Brother, I'm telling you,
man,
my God.
Oh, look, let me say one other thing.
Please go ahead.
I don't want to forget this.
Go ahead.
Spend time nurturing real, true, and authentic friendships with other preachers.
There it is. There it is.
Man, so many preachers, man, watch this, brothers. They have friends, but they are superficial. They are superficial relations. They are superficial and surface friendships. Hey, Doc, how many you had, Doc? Doc, did you get them, Doc? How much money you raised, Doc? Bro, that's superficial.
Yeah, come on now.
Doc, how much time you spending with your wife, Doc?
Yes, sir.
So, man, listen, man, one thing that I appreciate about you guys, man, is that what we have, bro, is authentic, man. And man, you know, a lot of us didn't really have that. We didn't know the importance of that, you know, starting in ministry, man. And so, you know, and I think a lot of times, you know, we keep people away because there's a certain, you know, lifestyle that, you know, we want to maintain and keep. And I don't know if we're going to get to that, but you talked about, I mean, there's a question on here about, you know, taking God against moral failure. I don't know if we're going to get into that tonight or not, man. But I think sometimes preachers keep their friendships on a surface level because, man, they don't want to be accountable. No, man, I'm at a place in my life where, man, I want boundaries. I want parameters. I want real, authentic brothers in my life. Watch this. Who love their wives.
Come on now.
Let me stop. Go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
Bernard jump in.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jay. You saying something?
Yeah, well, I was just saying, we need real, true, and authentic friendships, man, and other brothers, man, who love their wives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, you know what I'm saying? So, man, you know, that's what I would say.
Bernard, it's on you, man. What would you say to your young ministry self if you start all over again?
I think I have two things, and we may have had a conversation about this before. First thing I would tell myself is to love myself sooner. And what I mean by that is, I think when we get into ministry too much, self is not, sometimes self ain't even on the list. And if you're on the list, you weigh down the list and you continue to put things that are of ministry and other things, people in the church above yourself, but love yourself sooner. Love yourself enough to take care of yourself. Love yourself enough to maintain your sanity. Love yourself, because if you can't love you, ain't no way you're going to really authentically love anybody else. So that would be the first thing I would say. Love yourself first. The second thing I would say is don't be afraid to leap. Don't be afraid to take chances. And I think sometimes we get into something else, we trying so hard not to fail until you don't take chances that would have gained you a bigger success had you taken those chances. And so that would be a couple of things that I would tell myself. And like Julia said, I appreciate and I wish I had found this sooner, because sometimes our tech sessions, our lunches, our breakfasts are almost like therapy sessions. It's that opportunity to be able to kind of get that stuff out. And really, when you do it, you kind of feel better, and you're like, okay, now I can go back at this. I can hit it for a little while longer. And so I think that having those true, and it's hard. So I don't want to say this like it's something easy to do. It's hard to find what we have. I'm gonna be upfront and honest about that. It's hard to find that, because in this day and time we live in, there are a lot of people who have hidden agendas, and sometimes you don't recognize that until it's too late. You done got yourself connected to somebody, you done got yourself into something, and you look around, you're like, why in the world did I get myself into this? Or how did I end up here? So what we have is really different. And so that's why you have to search hard to be able to find it. But having this kind of relationship, having somebody you can bounce things off of, but also having somebody who can hold you accountable is something you need as well if you expect to be able to grow.
That's good. That's good. Ro, questions on the screen?
All right. So here let me preface mine by saying, man, I wish I would have had somebody I could have set up under longer. Never lose the value of being able to sit up under a seasoned pastor, because I made a lot of mistakes because I just was trying to do it on my own. Okay. So that led me to not finding my voice soon enough. You know, I had to be comfortable in who Roosevelt was. I couldn't be, you know, a Pastor Black. I couldn't be a Pastor Green. I couldn't be a Pastor Wilkerson. I just had to be Roosevelt.
Yes, sir.
And then also, man, recognize the value you bring. Jay helped me with this, man, back in 2018, man. I got invited to preach at the AME conference, Ecumenical Service. And if you know anything about that service, man, you have a bunch of degreed preachers sitting on the front pew. And here I am, just a little, you know, boy Baptist preacher that trusts the word. And Jay I was like, man, Jay, I'm scared. He said, man, Roosevelt, they call Roosevelt. Go be
Come
you.
on now.
If you go be you, they're going to be satisfied. And so I had to find my value. But then here's one, man, I think we all may have made this mistake, but I know I definitely did, man. Never try to push the people faster than they can run with the vision.
That's so good.
Because God gives us the vision when he says, write the vision, make it plain that the people can run with it. You follow me? But I think, man, we get past them being able to move slow enough to read it that they can actually run with it. And we get aggravated and agitated. So make sure we don't push them faster than they can run with it. And then here's one, man, that my wife helped me with, man, because I have a tendency, man, when I get done preaching, to go to her every Sunday and be like, baby, how did I do? Right? And so she's helping me, man, stop seeking the validation of what man feels, as long as I know I've said what God has told me to say.
Yeah.
And then finally, man, value the power of privacy. You know, everybody ain't privileged to our inner circle. And Derek, you helped me with that, man, because, you know, I was going to invite a gazillion people to the circle. And I think Ash told me, and I think Derek told me, if I invite them, y'all was leaving the circle.
Hey, you can invite them, but I ain't going to be there.
And so,
Yes,
man,
sir.
just, you know, I value the privacy that we have as
Man,
covenant.
man, y'all gangsters, man. Y'all gangsters, man.
No, bro. Listen, man.
So that's what I would say, man. That's what I would say.
How about you, Ash, man? What would you say to your younger self if you start all over again, man?
I'll tell my younger self, man, don't do it. Don't do it. Run. Hey, you know, I grew up in a homeless church, so we used to have a song where we say, "Run and don't look back." No, but for real though, man. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, man, the one thing I would do, I'll say it like this: I had took over the church where my father was pastoring, and I had an older elder that was there with me. That pastor, there are two pastors before me, and I honored him because I was taught, you know, saying that one day you're gonna be the older preacher, and so it was a lot of things that I may have wanted to implement, or some things I may have wanted to done, but out of respect for him, I wanted to make sure that his latter days would be his best days.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as much as, yeah, I wanted to tell my younger self on some things that I may have wanted to do earlier, I did not do because I respected him so much, as well as it was reciprocal. It wasn't like I was doing all of this for him and he didn't care, because it's easy to change things if somebody didn't care nothing about you. You see what I'm saying? But
Yes,
you know,
sir.
he loved me just like a grandson. So there are some things that I had to tell myself to, no, let's not do that at this time. And I can remember when the Lord called him home, I can remember the Lord vividly saying, "So what you gonna do now?" And so I would tell my younger self that no, you can't change everything at one time, but there were some other things that I should have changed that made the ministry fit and look more like who I was as pastor. You see what I'm saying? Because I was still trying, you know, saying to fit in the traditional pastor look, the traditional pastor talk. You know what I'm talking about? And so I didn't. So a lot of things, you know, the way people may see me now is always who I've been, but I kind of, you know, kept that under wraps, so say early in my ministry, because, you know, out of respect for others and not wanting them to, you know, anyone to feel, you know, that I was being offensive to a certain degree. So I would tell my younger self, definitely, like B said, you know, some things you just going to have to leap in, you know, by faith, you got to jump on it. You know what I'm saying? You just got if you fail at A, it didn't work, try something else. You see what I'm saying? But
Yes, sir.
a lot of times
Yes, sir.
I didn't do it because I was so worried about how it was going to be perceived by others. You see what I'm saying? But and I think a lot that kept me kind of to a point where I wasn't my authentic self like I am today. You see what I'm saying? And I understand that's all in growth too. It's easy to look back in retrospect and say do something, but all this came in growth. You know what I'm saying? We weren't the men we are as husbands, fathers, or, you know what I'm saying? Like my kids laugh how with my granddaughter is different than how I did my kids. You know, I'm 50 now. When y'all were kids, I was in my 20s. You see what I'm saying? Hey, so hey, we all learn. You know, we grow, I learn. You know, and one other thing that I would tell my younger self too is don't be so hard on the sheep too. When I first started out, man, I was hard, man. I was hard, and I can apologize for that. I was hard. You know what I'm saying? I expected certain things to be done. I wanted them done this way, that way, and I'm not going to accept anything less than that. You know what I'm saying? And that hurt some of the sheep. You see what I'm saying? That hurt some of them because they wasn't like Roger said. You know what I'm saying? They can only run as fast as they can. And my attitude, if you don't want to run with it, I'll snatch it from you and I'll take it. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times, you know, it wasn't because you didn't have the help. It's because you didn't let the help you. You know what I'm saying? So you know, and being younger, you think I can do it all. When I found out I couldn't do it all. And you'll find out if you're not careful, you'll be by yourself trying to do it. And they'll see if you can do it all by yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
sir.
I would tell
Yes,
the younger
sir.
one, hey, calm down a little bit, man. Give them a chance. Work with them. You know what I'm saying? Work where they are. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know that when I was starting out younger. I didn't. I expected everybody to, hey, you can do this. Get up. Let's do it. Let's get it done. And knowing now that people, they needed more grace. And so, I didn't give it. You see what I'm saying? I didn't. I expected it a certain way. If you couldn't do what I wanted to get done, move you to the side, and I'll keep doing it. And I look at my younger self and say, hey, you should have done it like that. I look at how I do now. It's totally different, than how when I started out. I expected it a certain way, and if it wasn't done the way I wanted it done, then you know what? I'll take it and do it myself. And I found out that left me with a void sometimes because you know what? Others were scared to step up because they didn't want to disappoint me. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And so since
Yes,
they didn't want to deal with that part of it because I was hard. You know what I'm saying? I was hard like that. I was firm in certain things. Like one of my other pastor friends I talked to, me and him laugh all the time. He's like, boy, Rich, boy, you first started out, boy. I'm talking about it was straight holiness of hell. I'm talking about that. That's it. And don't get me wrong, that it is a certain part of me that ain't changed on that part. But I had to learn some diplomacy. You see what I'm saying? I had to learn some more loving kindness. You know what I'm saying? Have I drawn it? I had to learn some of that. Some of y'all may have learned it before I did. You know what I'm saying? I can't, and a lot of that because I got from my dad. You know what I'm saying? It's out of in eye. That's it. It ain't don't get me wrong. With certain things, there ain't no debating on. But how
Yes, sir.
you deal with certain things, you have to find out. You know what I'm saying? One person may need a word of encouragement. Others you may could talk a little different. I had to learn. You got to learn people. You have to learn people. Some people, it's just like in coaching. Some coaches know, hey, I got certain players. I know I can bark at them, and they take it and they go with it. Some of them you might have to put your arm around and kind of encourage them. So you have to know how to deal with the people. So I would tell my younger self, hey, learn how to deal with people. Learn how to deal where they are. You know what I'm saying? You just can't have one way of doing it and think that you're gonna get the results you want because what may encourage one may turn another one off. You see what I'm saying?
There you go.
And I had to learn that. My younger self didn't know how to navigate that. So and another thing, and I got to go. I know we got to go. Another thing I had to learn too. Everybody in church wasn't saved. Can I pause like Julius now?
There you go. You did it. You paused too, brother.
I had to learn. I had to learn a lot of preachers wasn't saved either.
Yes, sir. as he sips.
Hey, I learned a lot of folks you tried to be friends with. It was the reason why we never became friends.
Yeah. Come on now.
Doc, I've been trying to get with you. Doc, I've been missing you. It's the reason why you missing me. Because it was never meant for us to be friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me so what I would say to myself is be comfortable with who God called you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I tell this to my ministers all the time at our church. We do our monthly ministry meeting. I was everybody the early part of my ministry. I went from TD Jakes, right, to across the board. And then when Jamal Harrison Bryant came out, I was trying to be Jamal, wearing the big thick tie, right, and using those sayings, right. I mean, went all across it. And just and here's the thing, man. Here was the summation of all that. I would go home exhausted, ain't said nothing. Right? Ain't said nothing. Did all that studying, all that preparing, and got in the pulpit and really got intimidated because the people weren't responding as you wanted them to. So I would quickly run to the infamous sayings you say in church to get amens.
Mm-hmm.
And that became my motivation. Just to get them to say amen. And that's what it was. And because you're not comfortable in that, right? You're not comfortable. I didn't grow up in a context where you was a lot of expository preaching or teaching preaching. It was if you ain't hooping in your sermon, you ain't preached. Right? You got to take them to the cross. You got to put them up there and bring them down. Like you got to do that. And but I'm gonna tell you, man, what COVID taught me that there's a lot of fat in a church service that ain't biblical. Right? A lot of fat that ain't biblical. It's just traditional things we've done with to continue to do those things because people want you to, but it ain't biblical. And that's challenging. As you said something earlier that was convicting for me is I was going to all the preacher conferences with our men's group back in the day when I was at previous church, and try to bring all of those things you learn at those conferences to your local context, and will get mad at the people because they too stiff-necked, they too dry, they can't receive. No, I mean, you don't understand your context, right? You're trying to bring a 2 to 3 weekday conference back to your context, trying to force it down their throat, and because they won't swallow properly, now you want to get upset. That was a pause moment too, by the way. But and so that was my first thing. The second thing I would say, and I'm grateful for this, man, was protect your personal. Jay, you said something in the last one we did, man, in their last season. You quoted Howard John Wesley when he said difference between privacy and secrecy. I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it was so true. Say it again, Jay, for the viewing audience.
Yeah, sure. He said that there is a difference between secrecy and privacy. He said that secrecy suggests something that you're trying to hide, something that you are ashamed of. Privacy is this just ain't none of your business. And so he said that I try not to live with secrets, but you there's nothing wrong with privacy. You having a private life as a preacher.
Sir. So ladies and gentlemen, we're at near the end. We do have one question that came in earlier in the show. I'm gonna lift that question up, and then I want to do a round robin closing to allow each of you brothers to be able to give some closing comments. And I'm gonna lift the question for you in our round robin closing. But Roman Reister, forgive me if I'm saying your last name wrong. He posed a question earlier on. I gave a statistic about 75%. And he said, how many of the 75% don't delegate smaller stuff to others? And he said, how many pastors are trying to do it all? Right? We need more men of God to step up as deacons. And I think that's some truth there, right? I know for me, because the Lord blessed me with the vision to plant a church, I was doing everything, right? But if I didn't do it, it wasn't getting done the right way. And my senior deacon at the time said, Pastor, it was very simple. He said, Pastor, and let us help you out. And it was so direct and yet necessary because I wasn't delegating. And if I did delegate, I was delegating, but micromanaging, right? It ain't getting done fast enough. And so then you take it back over again, and now you're overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, you're mad at the people because ain't nobody helping you out. The truth of the matter is, they try to help you, but you won't let them help. And but somebody said that earlier too on here about just as you said about delegation, right? Like early on, but now we've learned that, right, how to delegate these tasks, man. And remembering what our true responsibility is as the set preachers, set pastors of the house, right? We got to make sure that we are giving time to studying for the preaching and the teaching. And not waiting on tables, right? There are people that God will bless us to raise up to help do that and to serve in those capacities. That's very, very important. If we're not careful, man, we will dangerously try to be the preacher in the pulpit and the people in the pews all in one, right? We're saying this, we're preaching the sermon and saying the amens and things of that nature, man. And so delegation is very, very important. Ro, you said something about you wish you had been up under an older preacher longer, right? I was blessed to be up under an older preacher longer. I've done Pastor Walker for many years, and Pastor Walker was transparent about a lot of things, right? He got to a point in his pastoring where he became very transparent about things, right? He was silent on some things that I wish he would have been more transparent about, but also understand why he wasn't open. But he also was open about other things as well, and I will always give Pastor Walker the credit for this. The whole time I served him, he never once prevented me from taking itinerant preaching assignments. I would always go to him, right? But he always felt like go and let the Lord grow your ministry. But in going out, I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. In going out, I appreciated home more. Because, man, I'm telling you, when you go out there and some of these settings you get invited to go into, you wish you had said no once you get there. And you learn these things, right? But you also learn to appreciate, because sometimes as the preacher, when you are around the same people all day, every day, sometimes you don't appreciate them like they don't appreciate you. And then when you go out, you realize, man, it ain't really as bad as you think it is, right? It could be a whole lot worse. It could really be a whole lot worse. We didn't have any other questions. I want to conclude tonight with a question. I'll do a round robin, give you guys a chance to give a quick response to it. But I want each of you to give a response as we prepare to close out. And so it's our last question, question number 5, which is, what steps have you taken to guard yourself against moral failure? Right? What have you done to guard yourself against moral failure? We've all read it. We read about pastors who ended up in an affair in their church or outside their church, pastors who get caught up in pornography, pastors, who have excess children outside the marriage. We've read about it. So what are you doing? What steps are you taking? And again, this is our round robin question. So I'm gonna ask each of you to give your response, and then we're gonna close out on the back end of that. And I'm gonna go based on how my screen looks. So B, I'm gonna come to you first, bro.
So I think the first thing that I do is to constantly remind myself that I am human.
Yes, sir.
And the same proclivities that we think everybody else has, we have those as well. And to keep that in the forefront of our mind, also understand that how the enemy works. And I had a previous pastor who told me, he said, understand that there's something called the devil's wedge. And all the devil is looking for is a crack in your life. And if he can get the tip of that wedge in the crack, he's going to drive it in and make it open. And so we have to really be careful and understand that what the enemy wants to do is to bring shame to God. And I got to make sure that I don't allow my life to be that thing that brings shame to God. So being honest with myself about what those things are, but also praying and asking God to show me traps, to show me snares that are out there that are set up, because that's all they're looking for. Somebody did something that they thought was nobody gonna tell, that they thought nobody else was gonna ever find out about it. And then once it happened, it was too late. Everybody knew about it. And so just being open and honest, reminding myself that I'm human and addressing those things that I think could bring shame to God.
Thank you, brother. Ask you next, bro.
I think I have tried my best to not take fire into my bosom. Because it told me, can man take fire into his bosom and not be burnt? So I think we all had examples around us, and maybe even we have had certain experiences ourselves that maybe everybody don't know about, but you know. And so
Yes,
we are falling short sometimes, and understanding that, like B just said, I even talked about it this Sunday when the devil had told the Lord that Job had a hedge around him. And how in the world would the devil know that Job had a hedge around him if he wasn't around there looking? You know what I'm saying?
So good.
You know what I'm saying? I some things, if and we have to be careful, as they say, for nothing, because you don't even want your good to be evil spoken of. Some things, say maybe like you said, my younger self may have done some things, and my older self said, don't do that. I remember I dropped a young lady off. She came to church, and her and her kids came to church, and didn't have anyone at the time. Wife wasn't there, so I was like, well, before I leave, I'll drop also. I'll drop her back off at her house. And so, the dude on the porch, so I get out, I meet him on the porch, shake his hand. How you doing? Pastor Ashton, and stuff. But I look at it now, I was like, man, that was not smart. That was not that was not smart, man. No. How does that look? If you pull up to this man house, driving a car better than what he got, dropping his lady and his on what's name off, you know what I'm saying? I think about those things now. That you're like, maybe that wasn't a smart move to do, because it could have put me in a real compromising position.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
As well as having
Yes,
to
sir.
defend myself on something that maybe that was nothing. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, we have to be careful in everything that we do, because we have to remember that the devil wants just to have something on us. You see what I'm saying? There's something, and as well as we have talked about those same people that we sit and talk about that, you know, may be against us and everything else. It ain't them per se. It's that spirit that lives in them, and all that spirit that lives in them on is something that they can say, you know what, you did it too. So I try my best, man, to, you know, take steps to guard myself, and, you know, being where I'm supposed to be. Because you remember David. The Bible told us it was a time where kings should have been at war.
Yeah.
And David was home looking over the balcony at Bathsheba when he's supposed to have been on the battlefield. If David would have been where he's supposed to have been at, he would not have had to kill Uriah killed.
That's
but
right.
he wasn't where he's supposed
That's
to have been at. So when
That's right.
and that's one thing I love about us, you know what I'm saying? We can get together, and one thing about it, all of us have the same thing. We have wives at home. So, you know, and I try to keep most of my friendships, you know, if I have them, we have like like-minded things. Guys I ride bikes with. I mean, one night we went a road, and, you know, we excited. We just sat down at 8. And I'm talking, it's about 10 o'clock. And I'm talking about almost to a man. We look and say, man, boy, we gotta get out of here. You know, boy, hey, if we ever gonna get out again, we got to go. You know what I'm saying? All of us had to be like, boy, my wife gonna kill me, man. Hey, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep, you know what I'm saying, light around the people around you that got some of the same things to lose. You see what I'm saying? We ain't meeting up nowhere, and I'm sitting there talking about, yeah, boy, I got this little thing, I'm trying to get to it. They'll be like, yeah, boy, you too, but, you know, like, we be like, y'all be looking like, what? Hold on, man, what's wrong with Ash? You crazy or something? You know what I'm saying? It don't fit us. You see what I'm saying? It don't fit us. Now, we know plenty of jokers who get together that ain't what they about. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But thank God for having, yeah, that's true. Thank God that our friendship, you can't get in here and think you could do that openly. Talk to me now. You ain't gonna be able to do that openly around us. You're not gonna do it, because somebody gonna be like, hey, Ash, you losing your mind, man? Something wrong? We need to pray for you. So, hey, bro, this or at the same time, you're gonna see them start, y'all gonna be dropping me out the text. You see what I'm saying? Because that don't fit who we are. You know what I'm saying? We are a brother's keeper. That's what I want to say.
So on you, Jay.
Me? Oh, okay.
Yes,
so you referenced Dr. Carter, that
yes, sir.
So, you know, that class he taught. I was actually in that class back in, I think, 08, something, man. It was years ago. But also he tells a story, man, in that class about this preacher who his wife testified that he lived a life, you know, and man, you know, your wife know the real you. And man, I think, you know, what a testimony for your wife to say that your lifestyle keeps her the way you live your life. But man, I strive for that, man. I want my wife to be able to speak well about me, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be up preaching on Sunday. My wife looking on the floor like but this nigga ain't that. You know what I'm saying? And so Dr. Carter says in that class, he said, talking about this preacher, he said there was no discombobulation between the ecclesiastical and the domestic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, he did.
That was just a smart way of saying he lived what he preached.
Yes, sir.
And man, I want to get up. I want to stand up every week, man, with power, bro. He said that you cannot preach over your life. He said that's the devil telling you that you can't preach over your life. And so I think this, man, so a couple of things. I think that the way you honor and treat your wife is vitally important. I mean, some cats, man, they got this little aura about them that's loose and free, and chicks can tell, and they also can tell if you honor and love your wife, and if they see that you're doing that, they'll leave you the hell alone. Did I say hell again? Lord, y'all help me, man.
But they will.
No, I'm just this real talk with real brothers. But no, but listen, man. No, seriously. So, man, I think, man, that the old folk used to say, "As how you carry yourself."
Mm-hmm.
Honor, you know, just honoring our wives, man. And again, I'm not saying that we, you know, I'm not saying that we're perfect in that. Like Bernard said, we don't have some of the same, you know. We listen. We have proclivities, man. We have, you know, we save, we love the Lord, but we're not blind. So I think, you know, I think, man, making sure that you watch your time on social media is important, because we are pastoring in a different day. Years ago, so now, man, it's easy access. You got access to everything and everybody. You just do, and so, man, it takes a lot of discipline. And I think it goes back also, bro, to your devotional life, man. If you spend that time with God, man, I think that'll really, really help you to you know, really resist the devil. The scripture says. I hate to be spiritual, but man, but those are these things that I do, man. Just honor my wife, man. Then also, I think here's the last thing I said, man. You guys, I know we spoke to it already. But you guys, so men need to be around other brothers who love their wives.
Yes, sir.
I never forget.
Yes, sir.
I.B. Hilliard said this. He said that there were some preachers that he used to hang around that he had to cut off, and he said I had to cut them off because they didn't like their wives. And I like my wife.
That's right.
I like and love her. I like her and love her. You know, some people love her, but they don't like her. So he couldn't be in that circle, man. So I think, man, when you have accountability, man, and it's just, man, I mean, you know, if you ain't on that, man, just don't be around me. I ain't on that. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't need that. So I don't play by that. So, but I'll stop there.
For me, I'll just say, man, it's three things. Number one, it's maintaining a fear of God, right? Number two, it's empowering people to hold you accountable, right? And then number three, man, is I'm scared of my wife. People think I be joking when I say my wife is such a blessing, a wonderful person, right? But she's also quiet, and you know, that's a blessing, but everybody can snap, right? And I never want to imagine what my moral failure would do to her or to my children, right? And so when I say I'm afraid of my wife, like I say that openly, honestly, but also intentionally, right? Like I make it a point to talk about my wife all the time, even when I'm up preaching. Like I'll say something to her. Right, because I want to make sure, like, because here's the thing, somebody said earlier, like, there are people in church, man, who are studying your situation, right? They looking, they seeing if y'all actually, you know, if something seems to be off, right? There are people who, you know, they are suggesting ways they can be helpful. What's pastor's favorite meals and so on and so forth, right? You know, things of that nature, man. You got to be mindfully aware. My wife talks about this. I can't remember how she said it, but it's basically damsel in distress, right? They're female women, man, you gotta be careful, man. They'll come and they'll cry and want to cry on your shoulder, man. And you know, we want to, if you're not careful, you have the hero response, man. You get yourself lured in. And so, but I don't want anybody around me, especially my covenant brothers. I want nobody around me that can't speak honestly to me. My stuff don't always smell good. They gotta be able to say that. Right. And if I gotta live a private life and a quiet life and be sneaky around y'all, then there's a problem there. Right. And I think that's critically important. So Roman, we're gonna let you bring us in, man. Look at my wife, man. This is her comment. She's taking pride in knowing I'm scared of her, right? Y'all watch my eyes now. I mean, I'm in trouble. but Roll, man, bring us in, bring the rear,
okay.
Bring us in for the rear, man.
All right, man.
The show out.
So I think we echo in all the same thing. What I'll add to that, man, is making sure we protect our name, because our names have value in the community. People call on us because of our name. And so just be mindful of that, man. Also, man, what I would say is making sure that we don't become too familiar.
I like it.
Making sure we keep a distance there. But then also, man, value the watchful eye of your wife. It kind of goes in line with what you said with Takia, man, about damsel in distress, man. One of the things I do, man, and it's a simple thing, but I just do it, man. Even when I go to the door to shake hands and things of that sort, Ty and I walk to the door together.
Yes, sir.
That's just what I do. When I'm praying, and as I'm walking toward it, I'm grabbing her hand or tapping her, and we walk down that aisle together. And so, at the end of the day, man, we gotta realize, man, what it took to get us to this place. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the sacrifice, man, it ain't worth losing it. And so, man, y'all just took me out with that one. but just, man, if I could sum it all up, man, we just got to be intentional about protecting our names.
That's right.
Our names go before us. Our names go behind us. Our names will open up doors, man. That we want to make sure our character, our integrity, that when that door is open and we enter, man, that we can actually stay in that place.
I love it.
And last thing, man, just make sure we're not judgmental, lest we fall. And so I thank God for this group. I thank God, for the transparency and honesty, and just making sure that we maintain that is what I would say.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being a part of episode 1 of season 2 of Conversation with the Covenant Brothers. We try to just give you guys a glimpse into our brotherhood, our honest conversations, who we are. And so we are excited about what the Lord is doing. Hopefully, if the vision I have for next month workout, I'm excited about what that can end up being as far as our conversation. Our next show is scheduled for Sunday, February the 25th, 7:00 p.m. We look forward to being back on with each of you in that regard. Before we close out, I'm going to give Pastor Road a chance to talk about refreshing real quick and announce it to everybody. It's on the screen there, but we have a chance to kind of share what that is. We can't hear you, brother.
All right. So
there you go.
Thanks, Derek, for bringing that up, man. So refreshing 24, man, is really about, pastors, ministry leaders, church members, man. We pour out so much throughout the year. And so last year we recognized coming out of COVID, man, that we had exhausted ourselves as pastors and ministries. And we just wanted to pour back into, those pastors and ministers and churches in the local area, man. And so it was such a success that they asked us to bring it back. And so, man, we want to be intentional this year, man. Derek, you're on there, man. You're going to be teaching Pastor Joe, Pastor Lamar, Pastor Wendy, Smith Martin, Pastor Judah Mandrell, and Pastor Gibbs. And so it's a very diverse group. So we're encouraging, man, it's not a pastors only conference. Anybody can come. I would highly encourage you to come. It's Saturday morning, starting at 9. Pastors have a pastor's pouring session only that Pastor Mandrell will be pouring into pastors exclusively. As you said it earlier, man, we can't bleat down on the people, man, but we need a space where we can bleed and it be a trusted space. So that's for pastors only that morning at 8 a.m. Then the conference starts at 9, and it should wrap up no later than 12:30 with a lunch. So we're encouraging everybody to come. There's a $25 registration fee for it, man. And so I'm just encouraging everybody to join us. And if you're free this week, man, Pastor Wendy will actually be in town coming in. She's coming in Wednesday and Thursday. So she's going to do a 2-night revival here at Old Jerusalem before she preaches Saturday to close us out. So, man, if y'all got time to come through Wednesday and Thursday of this week at the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church, 197 Carver Avenue, shameless plug, please join us for revival that you can be refreshed and poured into. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, brother. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you so much. We love you all dearly. Grateful to God for an opportunity to bring this conversation before each of you, and to have a glimpse into who we are and what we talk about when we're not on screen. Grateful to God for the vision, for my brothers being a part of the vision, and for what this shall become. Again, we encourage you to share on your pages with other individuals, and please encourage other people to join the live conversation when we're having it. Right, we're trying to be helpful and be honest about things that we've learned and things that we're experiencing in that regard. I want to give honor to our families and thank God for our wives and our families for allowing us to be able to do what God has required of us to do. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Pastor Bernard E. Hudson from the Arnett Chapel AME Church, Pastor Richard Ash II from the Net Church in Quincy, Pastor Roosevelt Rogers III from the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida, and Pastor Julius Harris from the New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church in Havana, Florida. And I am Pastor Derek McGee from Bible-Based Church in Tallahassee. We are Covenant Brothers. Thank you for being a part of our conversation tonight. We love you all. God bless you. Have a great, great night in Jesus' name.